Alright, I don't have very long. There's a storm coming, but I do have some ripe Violette de Bordeaux Brebas, as well as a Negronne Breba. Most people seem to think they are the same, so let's see what we can find out here. This Breba looks like it is very ripe. Let's grab this guy. Alright, and here's kind of the typical leaf pattern. It's got 3 fingers, a little bit of the cankle. Here's another one, 3 fingers, a little bit of a cankle. Middle finger is always extended, always longer. Some of the newer leaves up here, you can see sort of the same thing. And the fruit are always a pink center when they're ripening, as well as some blush around the outside. Alright, so that's Violette de Bordeaux. Alright, now we're at my Negronne. My Negronne is a little bit older, probably a year older than my Violette de Bordeaux. You can see the leaves are similar. I wouldn't call them identical by any means. The fingers are a little bit more extended on the sides. They're all pretty similar. Much more uniformity in the leaves on the Negronne. Again, that could be because it's an older tree. Here's some younger leaves. Similar to Violette de Bordeaux. I don't know, I'm still not sold on their being the identical same thing. The fruit ripening are very similar. They have the red ostiole center, and then they have the blush around the outside. Having trouble focusing and the lack of light with the storm coming. Here is the Breba, real ripe. And it's funny that, you know, this Breba actually formed later than this one, and this one is actually still not quite ripe yet. It's got maybe another day. I'm gonna have to pick them. I'm going away for the weekend, so I'll probably pick them. All right. So here are the Negronne Breba and the Violette de Bordeaux Breba, and you can see the leaves are extremely similar. I tried to actually pick leaves that were pretty close to each other. Both trees have quite a bit of variability in the leaves. The Violette de Bordeaux more so than the Negronne, but I don't know if that's because of the age of the Negronne. The fruit is definitely a little bit different, but it could just be the age of the tree again. So this is, actually I have these backwards, sorry about that. The smaller one was the Negronne, and the larger one was the Violette de Bordeaux. The Violette de Bordeaux, for the most part, puts out about this size of fig, both main crop and Breba. And my Negronne puts out figs about this size. They're usually a little bit more round than this, but you can see, you know, same color, slightly different shape. The neck on each has that little bit of pink. They are definitely similar. If they are not the same, they are likely a similar strain. But let's go ahead and see what they look like inside. I keep wanting to put the Negronne by the bigger leaf. I think it's just because the leaf is bigger, and I want to put the bigger fig with the bigger leaf. That, or, I don't know, maybe I had too much to drink tonight. So, alright. Let's go ahead and cut the Violette de Bordeaux open first. The Breba is very similar to the main crop. The only difference is the main crop will get very jammy, kind of like you see down here on the very edge. That's kind of what the entire main crop will look like. It's getting a little dark out here, so the video's not coming through as nice as I'd like, but I wanted to get this done tonight before I leave for the weekend. Alright, so that's the Violette de Bordeaux. And this guy is the Negronne. Oh, wow. So, I mean, this is where I struggle to say that they're the same fruit, or the same tree, because, I mean, look at the significant difference in color and texture of this Breba. Is it similar? Absolutely. I have plenty of trees, however, that are similar, and all have different names. This Negronne is actually really pretty. So to compare, here is the Violette de Bordeaux on the left, and the Negronne on the right. The Negronne I got from Bill's Figs. The Violette de Bordeaux I got from either UC Davis, or at one point I think I got a separate Violette de Bordeaux cutting from somebody else, and I'm not sure if I tracked it. I'll have to go check the tag. Actually, let me go do that now. Alright, unfortunately I do not have whether it was the UC Davis cutting or the cutting I got from a fellow Fig member to say what the Violette de Bordeaux's origin was, so I can't say much to there. I do remember last year getting fruit off of both the UC Davis cutting and that person's cutting, and the fruit being very, very similar, if not identical, so pretty sure that it is definitely Violette de Bordeaux. And you can see the difference. Again, they were both squishy, both very ripe. Perhaps the Negronne was just a little bit more ripe, but I mean the difference is pretty significant if you ask me. So I'll have to keep an eye on this and compare both Violette de Bordeaux trees I have as it gets a little bit later in the summer, especially with the main crop, and see. But as far as the Brebas go, they certainly hint at them not being the same tree. So let's go ahead and taste these. I'm going to taste the Violette de Bordeaux first. That's good. It's actually very good. The flavor profile is what I remember from Violette de Bordeaux and Negronne, which is that really strong berry taste. And when these are really ripe at a main crop, they're hard to beat. You know, they don't get enough credit because they're a very popular fig and very commonplace, but they're really, really good. And the Breba is actually pretty delicious too. Okay, now let's try the Negronne. Let's give this guy a go. Oh man. Skin's a little tough on it, but the flavor is just, oh boy, how do I explain this? It's almost more aromatic, a little more floral to it. It still has that intense berry flavor, but the sweetness just kind of melts in your mouth, and it's more of a good blend as opposed to a strong berry flavor followed by acidity. I gotta say that was pretty good. And again, it may just be because maybe this had a day or two more ripeness on it, but I mean, I wish you could see. I wish I had better light here. I mean, it's just really jammy. Can't really get my camera to focus here tonight even. Just too dark, I think. But you're gonna have to take my word for it that this is definitely delicious. Yeah, I can't even get the camera to focus at this point tonight. Tried to do it earlier, but we have some bad thunderstorms coming through. Alright, let me go ahead and try this other side of this. For a Breba, that is probably as good as I've had. It doesn't have the punch and the flavor that the Excel had. It's more mellow, but the flavors are just blended together very nicely. Well, let me try the other half of the Violette de Bordeaux. going back to this after having the Negronne, can definitely tell this is not as good. I mean, it's still good, but the flavor is not as concentrated, not as well blended. I don't know how to explain it other than if you've ever had a ice wine, and you have an ice wine that's only a year or two old. It's got a good flavor, but it's kind of sweet, and the flavors aren't really blended. But if you have an ice wine that is 10, 20 years old, the flavor kind of blends together to one solid flavor, and it gets concentrated. And that's kind of how the Negronne was. But both are excellent for Brebas. The Violette de Bordeaux definitely has more Brebas on it than the Negronne. The Negronne, I think I have 4 or 5. The Violette de Bordeaux, I've probably got, 9 or 10. And the Negronne is probably 3 or 4 times the size of the Violette de Bordeaux. So, that's Violette de Bordeaux and Negronne Brebas from PA Figs. I'd be interested to hear everybody's comments on what they think about the 2 different varieties. In particular, I think it's hard to really tell if these are 2 different varieties because they've been interchanged so many times over the last several years with people believing they were the same thing. Somebody may give you a Negronne and it really may be a Violette de Bordeaux. Somebody may give you a Violette de Bordeaux and maybe it's a Negronne. And they're so hard to tell the difference if there is one that they've been interchanged. I imagine it's difficult to actually get, I won't say an original, but a tree that goes back far enough to not have been mixed up. So I'm going to stick with my thoughts that Negronne is a slightly different variant from Violette de Bordeaux until I see a little bit different as my trees get older and the main crop forms. So for now, this is PA Figs.